Hello, everyone. This is Stephen Balch, your instructor for Small Business Management at Ozarka College. This morning, what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of feedback on the chapters 14 and 15 activities that I finished grading earlier this week. And then I'm going to remind you one last time about the semester project, which is coming up due early next week. And then also, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the chapter 16 and 17 activities, which are also due early next week. Okay, so the first thing is, like I said, I did finish grading the chapters 14 and 15 activities. I believe it was Monday. They were due kind of over the weekend, so I graded them or finished grading them Monday. Hopefully, you've already gone in and looked at your grades for those activities and read the grading comments. If you haven't done that yet, go ahead and do that as soon as you can. And let me know if you have any questions at all. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Most of you did well on the chapters 14 and 15 activities. There were a couple of you, though, actually a few of you who didn't read the questions carefully, and you provided answers to other, on other concepts that were not asked about in the actual question. So make sure that you're carefully reading each assignment question and using the resources that I provide. Of course, you have your textbook, you have your slides your PowerPoint slides that I provide on the assignment page, and you also have your videos that explain the concepts. So make sure you're using those resources. Some of you, I have a feeling, are not using those resources. You're using some external resource, whether it's AI or something else, and you're using that to get your answers, and it's not going to be consistent with what's in the resources that I'm providing for you. And so make sure you're using those resources I provide. Remember, if you include anything outside of those resources that are assigned for that particular assignment, if you, for example, use AI or you use some other, some web page where you find information about the answer to the question, you need to provide a citation of, showing me where you got that information. If you don't do that, then you will not get the points for that particular question. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. I really want you to use the resources that I'm providing because a lot of times, AI is good for a lot of things, but it also makes mistakes. It requires you to ask the question in the right way, you do not need to rely solely on AI to answer questions or to provide the information to answer the questions, because all the information you need to answer the questions on the assignment are in the resources that are provided. So just kind of keep that in mind. Most of you are fine there, but there are a couple of you who need to really focus on using the resources provided. Okay? And I have really started looking at that a lot more closely. And so, like I said, if you include any information, whether it's on the assignment or on the discussion, you include any information that is not on the resources, not in the resources assigned, and you don't properly cite that information, then you will not get credit for that particular assignment or that discussion. Okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. All right. Let's see. The semester project, let me kind of talk about that one last time here because it is due next week. Let's see. If you'll look on the activities page in my Ozarka, right now we are on kind of the middle portion of week 13 of the semester. We don't have anything due this week because we did have work due the last day of last week. So we don't have anything due this week, but you should still be working on the activities which are due Tuesday of next week, which is April 22nd. Also keep in mind that when you're trying to figure out, how you're going to get all these activities submitted for this class next week, remember that this weekend is Easter weekend. And I'm sure you probably have plans with your family and friends. And so you're probably not going to want to do much over the weekend on this. So what I would do is I would highly recommend getting a lot of it done this week before the weekend, and that way you're not trying to get it all done early next week, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind, kind of plan out your time so that you can get everything completed. The semester project, again, is due Tuesday, April 22nd, which is Tuesday of next week. So you've got a little less than a week to put the finishing touches on that. At this point, you should have it at least 90% done. It should be pretty much completed, other than just some last minute maybe touches that you need to put on it to kind of polish it up. But at this point, it should be pretty much done. If you have any questions as you're kind of finishing up the project, let me know. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. Make sure that you're using the outline that I provided, that template that I provided for the business plan. It's not acceptable to just use any template or any kind of headings that you want to. You need to make sure you're using the template and the headings that I provide. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. Let's see. So again, that's due Tuesday of next week. Also due Tuesday of next week are the Chapter 16 and 17 activities. So you've got the assignment, discussion, and test also due Tuesday, April 22nd. So you've got quite a bit due here in the next, few days. So you need to be really working on these and getting them completed and submitted. Okay. Chapter 16, by the way, deals with the legal issues for small business and also risk management, how to manage the risk associated with the small business. So you're going to learn about things like the 3 legal structures used to form a small business, which are sole proprietorship, partnership, and corporation. You'll learn about the advantages and disadvantages of each one of those types of ownership. You'll also learn about business contracts and all of the laws that pertain to business contracts, which is called the Uniform Commercial Code, or UCC. If you take the business law class, the legal environment of business class, which, if you're working towards the AAS in business technology, you'll have to take that course. In that course, we'll learn a lot more about the UCC, but in this course, you're going to learn about at least how the UCC pertains to the operation of a small business. All right? And then also in Chapter 16, you'll learn about protecting intellectual property with things like trademarks and copyrights and patents. And then finally, at the end of Chapter 16, we will learn about tangible assets, how to protect tangible assets with property insurance. Okay? So that's Chapter 16. Then Chapter 17 covers the systems needed for successfully operating a small business. So in Chapter 17, you're going to learn about things like distribution systems for products, supply chain management, inventory management, the idea to product process, just-in-time manufacturing, setting and meeting product quality standards. And then finally in Chapter 17, you'll learn about the technology that can be used to benefit a small business. All right? So that's Chapter 16 and 17. So be working on those. Be finishing up your semester project. Let me know if you have any questions about any of that. And again, just kind of keep in mind, make sure that you're carefully reading the questions, both on the assignment and on the discussion, and make sure you're using your own words, okay? And properly citing any information that you get outside of the assigned resources, Okay? So that's really all I have for you for today. So enjoy the rest of this week. Enjoy your Easter weekend with your friends and family. And I will talk to you again sometime, probably later next week. Thank you.